I'm William Shatner, and I'm sitting beside.
Your daughter, Elizabeth Shatner.
I knew you looked familiar.
And
We want to talk about our movie, our little film for Paramount.
and I wrote a book on it.
What's the book's name?
Journaled Your Experiences. Captain's Log. William Shatner's personal account of the making of Star Trek V.
Well, here it is.
So, we're both here to tell the tale.
I love this shot. I love conceiving and setting up this shot. This whole thing on the desert was quite vivid. We had so little time.
I remember your efforts to get this all in, and you had to rush, and there were several things that went wrong and made it hard to set the shot up. One of the trucks with the wardrobe had broken down, and it ended up having to be packed into a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And,
we'd come from another location across those mountains, arrived here, and I only had a certain amount of daylight.
I think you ended up with about 15 minutes, actually.
And I had to get these shots conceived.
Yeah.
We couldn't.
Came out great.
The computer magic stuff wasn't really available at this point, so we were really using real dust. And I wanted this silhouette, slow motion, slowly coming, death slowly coming, in his attempts to load his rifle.
You wouldn't be able to tell by this shot, but there are two huge airplane jet fans right outside camera blowing that dust across. It's pretty amazing. It worked out so well.
I love shots like this, the old Western
Yeah.
thing, but look at the clouds and the way the desert floor is so broken up.
That's Owen's dry lake bed.
Desiccated is the word I was looking for. Yeah, the Owens Lake desert bed.
Something like that.
And all that dust in everything. And there's Lawrence Luckenbill. I don't remember the name of this wonderful character actor who's dying or kneeling. But there's Larry in full makeup. And he got a hold of this part and he grasped it and made it his own. I thought he was wonderful in it.
Rex Holman, that was his name.
Rex Holman?
I think so. Yeah.
That's it. And here is a story that was several years in advance of its time. A religious zealot taking converts and making his way across the universe.
It was weirdly
The galaxy.
prophetic, wasn't it?
Weirdly prophetic. Imagine if this were available now. How it might be a different story as to
Reaction.
people coming to see it. And then I put horses in the script all the way through, as much as I could, so I could get to ride one.
I remember your first incarnations of the horses were actually unicorns.
That's
and
right.
Gene fought that one, I think, because to him that meant it was more a science fantasy rather than science fiction. So the unicorn became a horse.
Yeah.
The first test, they were gold, and then in the final end, they were blue.
Yeah.
The gold color didn't work. So,
But that unicorn would have been good. It would have, imagine that in silhouette, how exotic that would have been.
well, this was a modified version
Right.
of a
I
unicorn.
love Rex's moment there.
And this laugh.
And then bleeding the sun in. It's a great opening. There's DeForest Kelly's name,
Yeah.
now long since gone.
Yeah.
But he lives on in this film.
In a lot of the films and in
Yeah.
the series. It's amazing that there are so many of these movies. David Warner, another great actor.
We shot a lot of film on people climbing.
And you went out to the desert and did a practice climb of
And did a
over
practice
100
climb.
feet.
And did a practice climb. And,
Looked down and went, oh,
and so we had a
no.
lot of this film, and we didn't know how to use it. And I suggested doing it as for the opening credits. And so we use it all the way through. It becomes a climb upwards and symbolic. My thought was the climb is the symbol of Star Trek trying to achieve a higher end, climbing higher and higher, trying to find that spirituality that was the key to what I thought the film was. Andrew Laszlo, wonderful cinematographer, worked very closely. I was worried in my naivety that the cinematographer might have his own view on what to do and not listen to what I had to say. I didn't know how to conduct myself with a well-known cinematographer, but that never happened. It was a marvelous combination. And here we are on the face of this, on the face of Yosemite. We had, as the guy on camera, a man who was well known for getting these kinds of shots. And the stuntman had one of the first of these kinds of stunt mechanisms. I've forgotten the exact term they use, but they leap out and then this cable slows them down slowly. Then we had to figure out where to place the false rock in relationship to the real rock so that when you saw me on the face of the false rock, it was obviously in Yosemite Park.
And that's a fake wall.
That's a fake wall.
Fake rock wall.
In the parking lot at
Yosemite National
Yosemite
Park.
National Park.
And Leonard's actually on a teeter-totter, kind of glued in by the feet on that
Right.
shot.
Beautiful day. The threat of weather was omnipresent, of course.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think when we were driving in, it looked like it was going to rain, and as we came in, the clouds sort of parted, and you had
We were magically...
your blessed weather.
Yeah, the blessed weather that has been so good for me over the years. took some rock climbing lessons before the film, where the guys were free climbers like this, but they had me rope.
And this is a guy actually
That guy actually falling with a
That's you on
deaccelerator. And that's
You on
actually
wires.
me on a set. And every time we did it, I let out this yell that we kept in, and everyone thought, well, wonderful acting. It wasn't, it was total fear that I was going to land on my head every time.
and called those wires that are holding up the wires of torture
All right.
because they were very uncomfortable.
And then for you Milton fans, Paradise City, there's a little
Play
graffiti,
on.
a graffiti written on one side there, Lost, so it's Paradise Lost. Then we had fun with this
With the cat
costume on
lady.
that girl with the cat lady.
Cat lady, they did a bunch of different experiments on the stripes and settled on tiger stripes finally.
Costuming was wonderful.
Yeah. And then Cynthia Gao was the girl playing Caitlin.
Is that right?
You had I sat in on a lot of those casting sessions where you went through a number of auditions to settle on her.
This is where we had like 15 minutes to shoot this sequence,
And on those rush days at
Yeah.
Ridgecrest.
where it was so difficult to go from one place to the other that we were always arriving late because vehicles were breaking down and couldn't find people.
And those poor extras were out in the sun for hours waiting
Hours
for you.
waiting.
But
for us
they
to-
rallied.
They did rally.
David Warner,
The settlers we conned into coming here, they were the dregs of the galaxy.
who
Immediately
Those people were local people.
wonderful.
And we wrapped them in rags and asked them to wait. And then I gave them a Star Trekian pep talk.
And you had to use the same group of people for all the shots.
I had a limited number of extras, so we strung
They
them out
ran
as
them
far as
around.
possible. Then brought them in here and put them out there and got them in here.
I think another issue had been there were several more complex makeups that were supposed to be in the front line that you were supposed to be able to see, but because the time was so short,
They couldn't
the
make them.
dark, it had started to get dark, so you couldn't end up not being able to see these expensive makeups that they had spent so much time on.
I was on such a rigid schedule. I couldn't lose hours. Hours were valuable. That meant minutes that actors might take in coming to the set were valuable. I thought that, you know, if an actor took 5 minutes more to come from his dressing room to the set, and you multiplied that by the number of shots you wanted them in, maybe 30 shots, it's 150 minutes, it's 2 hours.
Remember, there's, I think, one shot where Larry, one of his opening shots, Larry said, "Welcome to Paradise," or something like that, and you said cut, and he said, "Can I do it again?" And you said no. We have to move on.
I mean, it was like it made shooting for a television show look like a long vacation. I've never been on as tight a schedule as this. And I knew that sometimes the first take would be fine. You might get a nuance better in another take, but the variation wouldn't make that much difference as getting out of there and getting some coverage or getting the next set.
Now, I believe this was a new set of the interior because they had destroyed the Enterprise in the last movie.
Every
right?
year,
yeah.
Every
So this
movie
is a new
we
one.
made, we would destroy the set, thinking there'd never be another movie, and to the tune of about $500,000, they'd have to remake it.
But Herman Zimmerman, who did all the sets, did a really nice job in this one.
Yes, this was easier to work with. I was able
Yes,
to get,
they did. You were able to take out pieces of it.
take pieces out
Yeah.
and able to get that moving shot, for example, around the way that was.
Because the old sets, you couldn't move pieces of
Not
the
as
set.
easily. It was time consuming, and we didn't have the time.
I think you actually made up time on these interior shots.
The difficulty here for the director is to keep the camera moving and keep the people moving, so that there's motion and not just
Right.
people standing still. Although that's a faster way of shooting,
Right.
is to stand them there and just shoot them, but it's not cinematic. So you're faced with this Hobson's choice of, what do I do? If I move them, it takes time, and if I don't, it doesn't look good.
An interesting side note of the graphics in the back of the set also took quite a bit of time and detail to produce.
That's right.
That was a whole another job that Brooke Breton, co-producer, was in charge of doing.
This campfire scene, a lot of people have noted as being the perfect Star Trek character scene.
Well, there is that chemistry between the three of you.
We
Always.
fooled around with the whole singing the rounds.
Let DeForest couldn't hold a tune,
No.
so that was funny.
Well,
because
and we know I can't. That left Leonard, who doesn't sing.
basically you were all
Which,
holding your
to
ears.
do a round of row, row, row your boat makes it very difficult.
Surprisingly good.
Then somebody said, I want to get a shot, a distance shot out in the woods, a longer shot to see them in context. And somebody said, would you like a bird there? And we're setting up the shot. I said, yeah. He said, well, what kind of bird? I said, how about an owl? He said, okay. And they disappeared, and shortly thereafter they came back. There's apparently a company in Hollywood who has a supply of exotic birds available. And so he's placed this owl in the woods, and then I wanted to motivate the camera to pan over. He said, you want the bird to look to the right? And I said, yeah. So he did something, and you'll see the bird looks.
I think this
Human
is
life is far too precious.
the purpose of the scene was really to set up their relationship,
Right.
the three characters' relationship, so that later when they have their issues,
Right,
it
exactly.
shows the difference.
I used, as most people do, a through the lens television camera so that I could see the take every time it was done. If I was in a scene, I'd rush over at the end of the scene to see how the take was. And so it became a game for everybody to rush over at the same time to see how they were looking, and they'd want to do it again. There was no time for more takes. So I had to say, nobody can see this but me, which annoyed people from time to time.
Modern day marshmallow roasting.
Anything to get what do you call it, marketing, merchandising. A merchandising ploy there.
In a ritual known as the sing-along.
So sitting around a campfire in the beginning of a motion picture that's supposed to move is a dangerous act. It's slow. And you take a chance doing that. And you have to hope that the characters are loved enough by the audience for them to sit still while we have what is hopefully dialogue that compels them to listen. So we had fun with it. We tried it a variety of ways. Tried ad-libbing it.
These were interior shots, though, yeah. Some of these.
On a set.
Yeah, I think this was one of the last days of filming, actually. Throughout the filming, people on the crew would start pinning clothespins to people when they weren't looking. So you'd end up walking around with like 4 or 5 clothespins pinned on your back without realizing it. And then it escalated so that they would tie carrots to the clothespins, and this one woman was walking around with a carrot dangling down near her butt for like 15 minutes before she realized what was going on. And then I think it was in that scene, they clipped one with 15 balloons to Leonard's back. And then he played along with it so that when you came on the set, you saw him, you started to laugh.
Everybody thinks that they're mature individuals who are making these films, but in fact, we're all children. So that was the shot with the bird that was gotten with it, that they got within 15 minutes of the idea. The design of this spaceship is always wonderful.
Yeah,
it lurks,
This was another Herman Zimmerman moment.
Right.
And these two actors, Spice Williams and Todd Bryant.
Right.
They spent months preparing for these roles.
Yeah, speaking the language and
they learned Klingon for this.
Yeah. I had fun with this scene.
Yeah.
I was able to move the camera.
And the Klingon makeups were really good.
Klingon makeups were good.
They got to the point where both the actors could say their lines in Klingon or in English.
Yeah, they really got into it.
Yeah, they were really into it. More Klingon graphics. Another little detail that actually took a lot of time to design.
I love the look of the Klingons. I love the drama of their philosophy, the warriors, and so there's a dynamic to them. This is a tough shot to do in a studio.
They didn't have time to finish the tops of the trees, so I remember you had to watch the frame of the film so that it wouldn't show the tops of the undone trees.
I've forgotten that.
They didn't have time to. Everything was so rushed. They didn't have time.
They had time to finish the tops of the trees, so I had a frame below them.
Yeah, they didn't have time to finish the tops.
Here's the moonshot, where it was sent as an example of what was going to be done. We put it in, and nobody ever told us to take it out. So this is what Bram Farren would have done.
All I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer by.
Melville, John Masefield.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah, except it's pretty still.
I am well versed in classics.
It moveth not.
I think the challenge here was, it was very crowded, obviously, in there. All three of you standing there. It was on a little tiny craft. First couple times tried this shot, the shuttlecraft almost crashed into the walls.
I know.
They had to do a special rigging to make sure it wouldn't crash into the walls.
Right. Try to make this one continuous camera movement. An indication of motion. Everybody's running around back out beyond the elevator doors, changing the set, so it looks like we're in on another floor.
Doesn't anything work on this ship?
I think the joke here was that
The doors don't work.
nothing was quite working right.
Captain, Starfleet transmission on.
I recognize her.
This is another daughter, Melanie. So it struck me that there's no place to hang a coat. So I said to Melanie, just find a place, Melanie, to hang the coat. So now she's like the ditzy yeoman who's trying to find a place to hang the coat. I never quite got the joke right, but the concept was funny. Where do I hang this coat?
It was fun having her on the set.
Yeah,
She got into playing the clothespin game.
right.
Canceling surely, but look, we have a dangerous situation out on Nimbus 3.
On the planet.
And that is
The same. From all we can make out,
Harv on the screen there.
That is her Bennett there.
Playing the
Yeah.
commander. That was your first day, actually, your first shot of the whole movie
Is
was
that
Harv.
right?
I think so,
Oh,
yeah.
how wonderful. She's rocking around trying to find a place. What I was trying to do, and especially using Melanie as a means, because she's moving around trying to find a place to hang the coat, that I would work her into the motion of the camera. But then it didn't quite work out the way I planned it. Boy, that thing is ugly, isn't it? It's a great design.
Yes. The model shots look really good.
Spice had become a weightlifter at that point. And so is
Todd.
Todd. So both Todd and Spice were working with weights. They had great bodies.
I think the subtext of the scene is she's in love with
Right.
the warrior
Right.
captain.
I think that we worked on that.
Yeah.
Captain's log, stardate 84.
And then this shot, interesting camera device needed
Captain.
to look down on it and then turn.
You're always handing things to her.
You know.
Now, this scene, of course, had been filmed out on location.
Mm-hmm. You know, you're trying to trick things up by putting it on the small monitors, having a large monitor. It required a lot of forethought and expenditure of money on getting them made. Had to adjudicate where to spend that money, whether that little moment was worth it. We came up with a suggestion that Sybok was Leonard's brother, to give Spock enough emotion to side with him and against Kirk.
Past.
Who is it he reminds me?
There was a young student.
I think
Leonard needed more
Yeah.
help,
Leonard's idea was that the three of them had been together for so long
that he wouldn't leave.
Yeah, it would take something huge to
Right.
break his loyalty to the captain.
I thought the steering wheel was a good idea, hearkening back to the old sailing ships that were also named Enterprise.
It's wonderful. I think Herman's idea at that point was using the wood in the future would be very rare. Wood would be rare, so it gave the whole feeling of kind of more private and luxurious space than the normal ship quarters.
Right.
Imagine that.
I could have staged this a little better. Could have had us moving around a little more. This is really television staging. And when I was finished with it, I thought I should have done more, and yet there was always the thing about time.
What do you think you would have changed?
I would have had the two of us, while listening to Leonard, move around the set a little more.
Such a pretty
gives you
set.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Beautiful
set.
set.
This gives you a sense of the set. That shot there gives you a sense of the set, as did the previous shot, shooting the other way. I shot 180 degrees, two masters, and it means the set has to be relit
Right.
to shoot in each of those directions. So that's like twice as much time as you ordinarily, cheaply would take. But that is standard practice in doing a film of this magnitude. But the film of this magnitude needed more time.
Even if we could lock onto the hostages, we couldn't have beamed them up.
You ended up dealing with television problems, it seems like.
And dealing with, yeah, I mean, even beyond television, dealing with independent films with no money problems.
Well, I suppose it's all relative. I mean, if you have 30 million and you need 40 million, it's a low budget picture.
You're right about that, daughter.
You know, all these graphics, all these little details
It needed
took time and money, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't think about all these things, I guess, when you're coming up with the idea, but...
When you work at night, especially using a lot of people, like we do on occasion here, communication, it is absolutely astonishing how you can say, go over there and turn left 10 times, and people go over there and turn right. And you say, but I said left. They said, oh, I thought you said right. And we'll do it again. And at night, the complications are multiplied. Sometimes you're walking around in the dark, and sometimes it's light, but it takes time to cable those lights. And it's a mess, but it's very effective. And it requires a lot of planning, because a scene that's in the dark is not really in the dark, otherwise you wouldn't see anything on film. So a scene at night is partially at night and partially lit, like this. And the cinematographer is working by guess and by golly too a lot of the times. I hope this works, I hope this works. No, that doesn't. Wait a minute, we have to get another light over there. And that's 15 minutes, a half an hour. And then he makes another adjustment. The same way an actor would make an adjustment. So you have to allow him that time. But look, this long expanse right there, this is a set. But this isn't. How'd that go?
You came up with this idea that you needed a distraction.
Yeah.
So you came up with this idea of her doing a dance.
Oh, that's right. We needed to distract the soldiers.
Right. So you
So
came up
they
with this
come
idea
along
of
and hear somebody dancing in the dark.
And it's Nichelle.
And Nichelle has great gams. So anybody would stop and take a look. And that's all we needed. Now you can imagine how long this took. Horses, darkness, lights, depth of field.
20 minutes.
20 minutes, took all of 20 minutes. It's long and arduous, and then you get one shot and you think you could make it better, but you better not, because you don't know how long the other stuff's going to take, and they only gave me a certain number of nights. And when you work at night, you have to sleep during the day, so your body clock is all off. By the third or fourth night, you're totally fatigued, and your ability to make decisions is affected as well. Now, I'm acting in this with horses that were the day before on some ranch. They weren't movie horses like you used to have.
There are a lot of these technical problems of things getting lost, trucks getting lost, things being delivered to the wrong place or not at all. And these horses were not the usual horses that would have been used. So.
Right, we were using cow horses that were on a farm the day before.
So you had all kinds of issues to deal with on location.
Ari Rondell was an old friend of
on
mine.
T.J. Hooker also
Yeah,
as your
it was
stunt
T.J.
double.
Hooker's my stunt double.
No, and he was the
His stunt
coordinator, wasn't he?
coordinator.
On
And his
T.J.
brother
Hooker.
died in an accident while on this film.
Oh boy.
Uhura, come on down.
The other gentleman who was your stunt double here was also your stunt double in T.J. Hooker. So it was a little
Right.
T.J. Hooker reunion. This sign actually fell. It fell in the middle of a different scene when it wasn't supposed to fall. And they had to hook up a different sign. This is the cat lady who turned out to also be a stunt woman. You didn't originally hire her for that, but she also happened to be a stunt woman.
You know, I storyboarded everything, almost every shot I would storyboard. So we knew exactly how many shots we had, where they would be placed, and how to pick up shots along the way and not be someplace with a camera that we were the previous day or an hour ago. It had to be very carefully worked out so we didn't waste a moment of time.
Don't you have anything to say to me? You are
This scene
under arrest for 17 violations.
is interesting to me because Cybok's character is really a renegade Vulcan, and he's laughing and he's big grand gestures and he's very effusive, whereas Spock is very contained and a sort of more traditional character. So I think Larry's natural charisma and enthusiasm kind of helped illustrate the point.
Yes.
However,
So the brothers meet.
I can't surrender now. I'm not through violating neutral zone treaty.
I think, as I recall, you kind of likened the Cybok character to Timothy Leary a lot. That he
Right.
was a kind of a
Charismatic man.
misguided kind of,
Right.
but well-meaning in the end.
Right. terminology is wonderful.
Yeah. They actually hired the guy who was the founder of the Klingonese language, Mark Okrand. Yeah, Mark
We got
Okrand.
Mark
They got Mark to help Spice and Todd
to learn the Klingon
learn
language.
the Klingon language.
And they would study it, and he would teach them, and they went on for days. They became the perfect Klingon warriors. Perfect example.
I remember I think this is the scene that happened on the picture of the Enterprise in the back. The length of the film was shorter than the length of the dialogue.
Oh, right.
And it kept
Going
out before the actors could finish their lines.
The length of the piece of film that plays in the background was shorter than the scene of the dialogue in the film.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been better to have had more of that shot
You
of
lost
the.
time on that one too, I remember.
So we'd lose time because we'd have to stop, let them rewind, and continue on.
How would you go about planning these sort of such tightly grouped shots?
Well, you don't have much choice. The set is very small. The spacecraft is supposed to be small. There's a large group of people. So you try and stagger them
Yeah.
and then get approximation of the heads, like here, and try and link a shot so that you can get as many people in as possible. And you'll see where I try and flash the camera around. Like that. That took quite a bit of rehearsal. And here's where it almost didn't stop.
Right, this is the shot where it almost crashed.
Right there. That shot alone took a long time. Right. The shuttle base set, although it appears big, has large walls, but weren't totally attached. We got a lot of perspective there, with walls blocking your view from where they were attached.
I think there's also another interesting point. This set, I think, was built on top of the vault that housed all the antique furniture in Paramount, so you couldn't use the heavy cranes to move the shuttlecrafts around, so there was a lot of time also again lost in moving the shuttles. We had to find a different way to move the shuttlecraft around.
The floor of our set was built over
The
valuable,
vault.
the
The
vault,
antique.
the antique vault at Paramount. So we couldn't use heavy equipment to move the heavy equipment.
You think somebody would have thought of that? I think this scene's another example of Leonard's character, the difference between the brothers, that he was, I think, constantly trying to find ways to illustrate that he wouldn't leave the captain, he would be loyal to the captain.
By sticking to what his character would do, Leonard forced us to make wonderful changes that only added to the plot, and he stayed true to his character. It was a perfect example of an actor's truthfulness, forcing the writers to be as truthful.
Your original idea, the three characters were split against each other more easily? Is
Right. Well, yes. Looking for ways to split the characters was what took imagination, and trying to split the characters exercised our creativity. It was difficult to find, and I'm not sure that we ever did solve that problem completely. I think that when you're acting in a Star Trek film, there's an element of energy, urgency, that is part of the style of Star Trek. But I wouldn't think of it as being any less real than any kitchen sink drama, except there's a kind of energy that should be there.
There's always an attempt to put humor in the script too, as I recall it. Looking for moments.
We're always looking for moments for
This is
for a
being
laugh,
a
yeah. Here's the
perfect
toilet.
example.
Here's the toilet that everybody asks about. In a
Where do you go
cell.
to the bathroom?
What? Where do you go to the bathroom? Right there.
I think one interview I did, somebody asked me what Captain Kirk reads in the bathroom. I said Playboy, of course.
Stop it, Jim.
Dee was so funny.
Yeah, it was funny. The problem we had was how easily does the crew overcome? And it is that problem.
There had been precedents, though, for the crew having been taken over in a variety of other ways in other episodes, and even
Right.
in Star Trek 2. So it wasn't an insurmountable problem, but
no, it wasn't insurmountable. But what I wanted them to do was be swayed by the philosophy of the Holy Man, not by some magical
trick.
Trick, exactly.
I think that was a balance that attention with the other actors too wanted to make sure their characters stayed consistent also.
Right.
That tension was something that you were always trying to solve.
You know, when you talk about budget on a Star Trek film, and I know it's true for the new films, the ones after Star Trek V, as well as here, the actors have been around for so long that their salaries have gone up. It isn't like, here's your job and here's what we're paying. It's, you got an increase this year. So the budget on a Star Trek film is overloaded on salary.
Starship Enterprise.
A disproportionate amount of money is spent on talent as against production.
Has asked ever since he first gazed at the stars.
And then you also have the problem of people's own estimations of their worth, which increase as the years go by. It's not like you're in a first-time movie and they say, here's this small part, you got 5 lines, and you're in 3 scenes. It's, you've got five lines and 3 scenes, but you've been on board this thing for years, and your sense of self-worth is far more, is increased that much more. Star Trek is wagon train to the stars. There was a popular series on the air at the time Star Trek first went on called Wagon Train. And this was often referred to, Star Trek was, as wagon train to the stars. There is a Western quality to it. There's the bad guys, the good guys, if you can get out into open space. There was some controversy over this.
Yeah, because the pipes on the bottom had to open and close so the camera could track properly.
In order to get the camera along this thing, we had to open and close the pipes.
Yeah.
And close them in time for the actors to be seen, which destroyed Jimmy Doohan's concentration to the point where he would forget the lines. We were pretty far off the ground at this point. And then you go back to the rock climbing thing.
Where's Spock? I believe I found
Leonard was a good sport about being strapped into these contraptions.
We went back to 52, if you see. Then we went to 78.
Don't tell anybody.
You're not supposed to notice that.
This is the beginning of the whole sequence where you get into the depths of each character. The set was interesting too because it opened up into these various little areas. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually did a theatrical thing here. Instead of using movie magic, we used a theatrical device called a scrim, and it was done with lighting. I don't remember why. I suspect it was to save money from the special effects. My father had died. I'm not sure what, obviously DeForest's father had died. I think the death of your parent is a major event in everyone's life. And if you're close, it's even a bigger event. So that's one we gave DeForest based on my experience.
I think DeForest was also very reluctant at first to do that scene because he felt like as a doctor he wouldn't pull the plug on a
Right.
patient, and you
That's
had
right.
to come up with a way for him to feel comfortable.
That's right. I had to motivate
You had to motivate
the actor into accepting the fact that he would have pulled the plug.
to preserve the dignity of his father was what you ended up coming
Right.
up with the line, but that took some convincing too.
Yeah.
I think you had to persuade him. I think you told him it was a scene, a great scene for him, and he hadn't been able to really show his acting chops for a while, and here was an opportunity. But even then, he still was very reluctant to do anything inconsistent with the character. So I think you guys came up with that solution.
Right. A marvelous moment for McCoy. He played this so well.
He's such a wonderful actor.
That light, key too. And the shadow. We made the shadow.
Yeah, that was a fake shadow.
Right. You know, I think old age is interesting in faces like this. All the peripheral stuff in life is washed away, and you see only the basic face and the lines of the face, the experience of the man in old age. I love this man's face. It took the darndest time to convince DeForest to do this scene. I kept saying it's such a wonderful scene for your character. And he just was reluctant to do it because I guess his own personal convictions about pulling the plug. And my personal convictions about pulling the plug is pull the plug at the appropriate moment when the dignity of life is gone.
Release this pain. Release it. This pain has poisoned your soul for a long time. Now, you've taken the first step. The other steps.
This is close to what I had imagined the movie being. This force and these insights and these familiar characters going in areas that they've never gone before.
I think in Leonard's case, he felt that he had already explored the pain of being a half-breed, and he had objected initially to this scene as not being strong enough to pull him away from his loyalty. So there, you actually added a scene with the young Cybok and the young Spock being separated, because Cybok was going to go off and on his quest, and Spock chose to stay, and that was an additional pain that Leonard felt kind of solved the problem of what he had been objecting to. But I actually think in the end you didn't use that. Cut it. I think you shot it. Did you shoot the young Cybok and the young
I don't remember.
Spock? I remember the audition for the boys that you were going to use. I don't know if they ever even shot it.
And look at Spock seeing his own birth. What a chilling concept that is. I loved being able to work the scene out with these characters, this motion, and going from face to face, staging it just so the choreography of it pleased me. See, this to me is what Star Trek V is all about.
In the original story, how did you have that Cybok manage to split the three of them up? You had
Yeah, by the force of his philosophy, by the insights that these people had into their lives and what was lacking and what forces shaped them.
And I'll see.
And then I wanted it unresolved before we went down to the planet. And but somehow it was insisted that we resolve it before we go down, so we present a united front. And I acquiesced to that, and I think that dramatically it would have worked out better if our experience down on the God planet resulted in our healing our relationship.
You also had several meetings with an astronomer to talk about where the God planet was. That originally you had wanted it in the center of the universe, and he explained that there really was no center of the universe, so it ended up being the center of the galaxy. And
Right.
that this
Although
great...
I don't know why there isn't a center of the universe. If the universe is expanding, isn't it expanding, as it's been explained to me, like a balloon that's being blown up? So there must be a center
But
from
isn't it
whence it is
ever-changing center?
I don't know. No, it would seem to be it's expanding from some point.
Well, at any rate, they hired an astronomer to help you out with these concepts. And according to him, this concept of Great Barrier had some element of actual reality to it, that there could be something magnetic field like that.
Then a remarkable coincidence happened while conceiving the film. And that is, there is a group of painters that were in America, the Hudson River Seven, I think they're called, and there was an exhibition in New York City, and I happened to be in New York, and I went to the exhibition, and there was the painter's storm over the Rockies. I'll think of his name in a minute. And I thought, that's the God Planet, because the whole philosophy of the Hudson River painters was God's investment in nature, that nature is reflective of God. And so I brought that Hudson River painters back with me to the designers to say, this is what I think the God Planet would look like. And again, never quite was right. The idea was there. You know, there was also another moment when I'm looking at these special effects shots that I'm reminded of. I said to one of the management, I haven't seen a certain number of special effects shots. And he said, you saw them 2 weeks ago. And I said, I have no recollection of seeing them. And I never did. And one of us was wrong. And I'm not sure whether they were wrong or I was wrong. But it made me doubt myself.
Wow.
I saw them and I don't remember seeing them. Special effects shots dribble in. The special effects people finish one and they work on another. So weeks will go by before you see the next shot.
Right.
So either I had completely forgotten or I was so rushed with stuff that I had no memory of it. But it was very...
I remember it took you some convincing that you didn't need the gun on the God Planet, because Kirk would always take a gun.
That's
and that
right.
was another big character hassle.
Exactly. I would not have gone down to the God Planet, I felt, without the gun. And everybody felt that if we had a gun, it would not be...
the jeopardy would be different.
The jeopardy would be threatened. Now here is this is a real set. This is real mountains. And we had sent somebody out to find locations. The people had drawn up what I thought the location should look like. Or I gave them my idea of what I thought the location should look like, and they drew it up. And here comes the guy, the location manager, with exactly what was drawn.
It was in Ridgecrest, the same place where you had filmed the rest of the stuff.
Right, and when we were on location search and I saw this mountain, the sun was coming up behind that mountain, behind that peak. And I said, this is where we have to shoot it, and we were going to come back there in a month to shoot it. So we had to figure out what time of the day that sun would be in that position, and we would needed that shot to place that camera at that time of day.
9 a.m.
Was it 9 a.m.? So and that was a month later, so either the time was getting longer or shorter, and I wanted the sun just peeking behind that
You did it
right there
perfectly.
like that, and it worked. Look at that
that's
shot.
Real. That was real.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's a real shot. Although the advances in CGI effects are such that you could have done all that CGI.
Well, the whole thing would be different now, probably.
Right.
You could do that ending that you wanted. Probably.
Exactly.
Cheaper than one location
You'd
shot.
draw it up, exactly.
Yeah.
Could fake the whole thing, but then in those days you couldn't fake it. And here we were on the side of the California desert and the mountains, and for real.
This is actually a fairly treacherous terrain. You could potentially really hurt yourself. That rock
Right.
is very sharp.
It's all volcanic,
Yeah.
as is this, of course. And there's a real difference between this and being on a set. I mean, it's just a different.
Feeling.
Large S is different. The light is different. The wind is different. You can't fake this. We're there. Then, in a story meeting,
My starship.
I was asked, well, how does the devil come out of the rock? And I had just seen a version of, or some part of
Enterprise.
Wizard of Oz some days before. And I said, well, I don't know, but maybe it's out of a whirlwind, and it's a whirlwind of motion. And Harv Bennett was very unkind about that suggestion. Do you remember?
I don't remember that.
Harv Bennett was very unkind about that suggestion, somewhat mocking, and that upset me. But eventually, we bought the idea, and everybody went to work on how to make it look like that. And then the thought was, who are the gods? What god is that? And that provided a whole degree of disturbance, because whose version of God? Which then made us give it the whole sequence of many gods.
Right. Because God could look any different way according to what part of the world or what planet you were from, for that
This is a
matter.
mixture of shots of real and fake. Some were actually shoved up, some were shoved up into the frame like this. Some are on.
This was
We
on
moved to a set now. This darkened sequence is a set. This is special effects.
This huge set with these huge pillars of rock on it. Was quite magnificent, actually.
Yeah. The sort of cathedral where God or the devil might reside.
The actors end up playing to a non-existent god because he had to get filled in later by special effects. So this
Right,
was a
so we played to a
combination.
non-existent God. But
Actually, they set up you set up a TV screen with the man George Murdoch who played God.
That's
set up a
right.
TV screen with his face in it, so the actors would have something to look at.
we had recorded the actor playing God. And then I had to make a walk look like a long walk with this very short space on the set that we had. The studio was very nervous about this sequence and wondering whether it would work or not. And after I had shot it, an executive came up to me and said it worked. And he was relieved. And here became what we could do with our limited budget of the gods of mankind.
That's George Murdoch.
And George Murdoch I had directed in a play in Los Angeles, and he is a wonderful, powerful actor, and I thought he'd be perfect as the voice of God.
See, to me, this whole sequence really harkens back to the old Star Trek series where they would encounter beings like this. It really
Right.
was very consistent with Star Trek and its traditions.
I thought so.
We sought only your infinite wisdom.
And how did you breach the barrier?
With a starship.
This starship.
Remember, George had a difficult time because when they were filming his sequences, he had these very bright lights, like
Yes.
really close to his eyes, so it would mimic the lighting in the
Right.
special effects. So he was basically acting to a giant beam of light, which was very uncomfortable.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship?
Bring the ship closer.
I said, what does God need with a starship?
Jim, what are you doing? I'm asking you a question.
Who is this creature?
Who am I? Don't you?
Isn't it interesting to see a man who's dead some time now, totally alive on film? Every part of him.
Yeah, it's nice to have it.
The Almighty for his ID. Then here is the proof you see.
Of course, your old friend Danny, the stuntman, took the fall for you.
I had seen some film on some American communists who were so filled with the love of their philosophy, and then Stalin's dictatorship became known and the disastrous things that Stalin had done, and that these people, lifelong communists, came to the realization suddenly that their philosophy didn't work. And they had spent all their years being passionate communists. And there was some film on them, and I thought, what a strange feeling it must be, what a disastrous moment in your life to find out that everything you believed in is of no avail. And that's where I got his thing. The Rockman sequence would have come here.
You originally had envisioned them coming out of the rocks and
Yeah, exploding
like
out of the rocks.
gargoyles, kind of.
Gargoyle, frightening devils, minions.
And then they told you could have 10 Rockmen,
Right.
then 5,
And 5.
then 1,
Then 1.
and then the
And
one
then
didn't work
the
out
one
so
didn't
well.
work out, so we had none. There
So
were no
there was-
Rockmen in our life.
A little problem of how to resolve the end of the movie.
Right. And I said, how am I going to do that? They said, that's your problem.
So there were just no Rockmen. Well, the function of the Klingons throughout the story was to provide another element of suspense, and
Right. To hassle us, to
so it wouldn't just be
Us.
God, us,
Right.
God, us. That
like
you
the
needed
bee
another.
story
Yeah.
in effect. And here's where the Rockmen would have been chasing me. Nilo Rodis has suggested a wonderful shot here of the spaceship coming up over the edge.
So instead of a Rockman, you had
We had
a giant God
a
face.
giant god face.
They're big guys.
Yeah, they're in built-up boots as well.
Release him.
And there was some controversy over
Officer has something he wants to say.
some editing here, which it was overruled.
You had a timing issue with the length of the movie too. I think you had a 2-hour version, and they pronounced you needed, I forget how many minutes, but enough to cause some anxiety.
And so there was a lot of controversy over what to edit. And it was another battle I lost.
Our new gunner.
And here, in this moment, which is fun, when I go up to Leonard, it was all we could do during rehearsal not to crack up.
Why?
It was just a funny moment.
You guys have a lot of laughs when you work together.
Thought I was going to die.
Did he have the 15 balloons hanging off the back of his jacket at this
Right.
point?
They're right there. That would. We had a tough time keeping a straight face.
You remember you fought for the line here too, that God is in the human heart, because that was really what you were trying to say the whole time, even from the very beginning, from the very first draft. And at one point, I think they took it out, and you fought to have it put back in, or something like that.
That was it.
It was
I
a very
forgot about
important
that.
line. It was really the
The
crux
whole
of the whole movie.
was summed up that God is in the human heart, and they kept taking it out.
Cosmic thought.
But it ended up in.
There was one fight I won.
Well, it was a pretty major fight,
I was thinking of
Yeah.
because that was really what you had been reaching for the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's such an important line. I mean, and Leonard and Dee were both right to fight for the consistency in their characters, I think, in the end.
Absolutely.
It made it better. But I think that the whole point of the script was that they're all different kinds of interpretations of God or
Right.
not God, and the only
But that God exists inside you.
all is well with the world once again.
Yes.
I think this was actually the last, might have been the last shot of the movie.
I think it
I
was.
think it was.
Gently down the street.
I mean, the last shot that you actually filmed.
Trying to make a point of the fireplace and then a dot in the universe or the galaxy at this point.
It's a nice touch. Well, guess you couldn't afford that shot. Nope, that's it. No more stars.
You're out.
You're out of money and
Right.
time.
I think it was, for me, it was a great experience. I learned a great deal. I wish I could put it to work now in that kind of film. I had a life experience there. And then working alongside my daughter Liz was also an enormous experience. I really, for the first time, saw her as an adult. And because she did adult work and she had an adult attitude. And she became a whole person, not my child, on this thing. So from many points of view, I'm so glad that I did the film.